Hey, it's Howie Mandel, and I am inviting you to witness history as me and my Howie Do It gaming team take on Gilly the King and Wallow 267's $1 million gaming in an epic global gaming league video game showdown. 4 rounds, multiple games, 1 winner, plus a halftime performance by multi-platinum artist Travie McCoy. Watch all the action and see who wins and advances to the championship match against Neo right now at globalgamingleague.com. That's globalgamingleague.com. Everybody games.
You know, this is one of those topics that no one really wants to think about, but if you're a parent, a homeowner, married, or helping take care of aging parents, it's something that honestly deserves a little attention. I'm talking about estate planning. And before you tune out thinking it's complicated or expensive, that's actually why I want to mention Trust and Will. Trust and Will makes estate planning feel way less intimidating than it sounds. They offer modern, attorney-designed wills and trusts that you can create online. And the process is surprisingly straightforward. In fact, you can create a will in as little as 30 minutes. That includes things like guardianship for your kids or pets, how your assets are distributed, and even healthcare directives. Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your loved ones with Trust and Will, the most trusted name in online estate planning. Go to trustandwill.com/future to get 20% off. That's trustandwill.com/future for 20% off. trustandwill.com/future.
Hey, I'm Josh Spiegel, host of the podcast Lunatic in the Newsroom. If you enjoy journalism that drifts into mild panic, wild overthinking, and a guaranteed nervous breakdown, Lunatic in the Newsroom is for you. It's news like you've never heard before. The only newsroom with a panic button. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and gasp in horror as the show spirals completely out of control. It's not just news, it's emotionally unstable. Lunatic in the Newsroom. Listen today.
Ciaran, for the Ravens, let's look at them next. Minter is coming. The North remembers. Insert any Game of Thrones pun you like. There'll be lots of Jesse Minter references coming this season ahead. They went with Hendrickson as opposed to Max Crosby. As we all know by this stage, unless you've been living under a rock, that's the story that dominated free agency. Ravens got 6. Are they 6? Am I counting right now? They got more picks than that, don't they?
I think they're 11 total.
They've 11 in totals. Nobody does
compensatory
compensatory picks as well as the Ravens do. They're in good nick here. I mean, they were giving up a lot of draft capital potentially for Max Crosby. That's now back on the table, and they do have their first rounder, where they pick, lest we forget, at 14 because they missed the playoffs last year.
Yeah, 8 and 9. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice opportunity for Minter to get some good kind of first, second round talent in there. What do they need? I mean, there's a couple of needs right there. I mean, I'm thinking of O-line first. You got to keep Lamar upright. I know they lost Linderbaum in free agency. That was fairly obvious. There's a ready-made replacement if they want to go there from Florida. Jake Slaughter, absolute monster, a huge dude. Only gave up 1 sack in 25. So he's there. I don't think a center is going any earlier than 14 if they really want to address that position right there. O-line, Spencer Fano, big dude as well. I mean, they've got to shore up that O-line. There's too many gaps there. I mean, they got Ronnie Stanley, they got Rosengarten, but losing Linderbaum, that was the anchor of the O-line. So look at them maybe taking a tackle or two. Fano, like we said, Ione, maybe also Caden Proctor, a big dude out of Alabama. But I think similar to the Steelers, I think they might be looking at wide receiver as well. I mean, they got 2 somewhat slot receivers in Bateman and Zay Flowers. Keep an eye out for a guy called Chris Brazell out of Tennessee, 6'4". They're not going for another slot. They want height. They want someone big out there. Chris Brazell, 6'4", around a 4.37 40 at the combine. A lot of people got a lot of wow factor from the combine. A lot of teams just they got their attention all of a sudden. 9 touchdowns last year, over 1,000 receiving yards. So that's probably where I see. If it's not center and if it's not O-line and tackle it, which let's face it, it's a fairly healthy tackle draft this year. So if they're not going O-line, I would expect them to go wide receiver with that first pick. So that's just a couple of names to throw out there.
Craig, it's not like the Ravens require necessarily major surgery here. And I look at this draft in a way as one that's set up beautifully for them. They have a lot of picks. There's not a lot of call on the type of players the Ravens tend to be able to pick up handily in the draft year in, year out. They are one of those teams that has a strategy knows how to use their pick. They seem to be able to pull out cornerbacks and safeties for fun, get linebackers where there seem to be no linebackers to be found. And all the positions that the Ravens tend to draft and develop brilliantly in are not necessarily the high demand positions as far as teams picking ahead of them are concerned.
No, but I'm kind of going to take this in a different direction to what Ciaran did. And you're looking at like Jesse Minter, who is a defensive-minded head coach. We didn't talk about the defense there on what they might do straight away. You're looking at Madubuike, who was injured in week 2, serious-looking neck injury, potentially no idea when he's coming back. You look at what they've got next to him, Travis Jones, who put up 5 sacks last year, and then it just drops off a cliff. Like, they have no one. So if they don't have Madubuike coming back, they've got a serious void at that defensive tackle position. And someone like Peter Woods from Clemson kind of fits that kind of prototypical area that they need in that middle there. Somebody who can really sort of disrupt in both sides, in the run defense and also in the pass rushing side of things. And I think that they're going to have their pick really at 12, because I don't think many of those are going to be going off the board before that. I like the idea of what Ciaran's saying about replacing Linderbaum, but you look at the talent that's there. I don't think you're looking at many people going center until maybe round 3 because of what the talent is. You could look at a guard and move them to center, but if you're looking at a pure center, you're probably looking a bit later on in the draft. So it would not surprise me if they do go defense here, especially, like I said, with Minter taking the reins.
I like where your process is, and that's why I was teeing it up by saying that there's a lot of talent for them to pick from if they do want to lean defense, and they may get better value for their picks than they would in a different draft. Jesse Minter is the guy who took over from Mike Macdonald as a defensive coordinator at Michigan. Mike Macdonald went back to Michigan to visit to see how Jesse Minter had, Mike Macdonald's word, improved upon the defense that Mike Macdonald had. We all know what Mike Macdonald can do on that side of the ball. We all know what he's done with the Seahawks, team of no stars. I mean, there obviously are plenty of star players on that side of the ball for the Seahawks. Let's not downplay or not give credit to the talent that they have there. But the Seahawks kind of brand at the moment is built around not being over reliant on one dominant quarterback hunter, unlike some other teams. So that could be exactly what Minter is planning to do. I absolutely see where you're coming from there. But Brian, like, if we look at how the Ravens fell short last year, it was, as Ciaran's alluded to, not protecting Lamar Jackson, an injured Lamar Jackson, in the way that they really should have done, and B, maybe not having quite enough weapons around him to enable him to cut a swathe through a fairly middling AFC North last year. They only had themselves to blame that they were reliant on a Tyler Loop field goal that ultimately went wide right and ended their season.
Yeah, I think they've got a lot of gaps offensively. You think Isaiah Likely has moved on from the Ravens. He's gone to the Giants tight end. It's interesting when you think of Mark Andrews. For years has been the stellar tight end. Mark Andrews gets that contract last year. Didn't really live up to the production levels of that contract which he got. You think back to the game, which the divisional game he lost it, you dropped that ball on the 2-point conversion. You wonder, did that impact on his mindset going into the season? Likely always looked like he was the guy ready to step into that mark. The wide receivers are good in their own right, Conor, but and the guys with Ultra, there's no really, it doesn't feel like there's that standout wide receiver. In fact, I thought they might have been in on the AJ Brown kind of scenario in terms of looking to trade for him, because he's the type of player for me that Lamar needs there. They need that kind of number one Metcalf type wide receiver that as who can get down the field and make the big plays. They had that early on with Fleur, but it hasn't really gone to the level in which we saw early on that year where they were the AFC number 1 seed. So I think there's gaps on offense, but you could argue got quite a few gaps as where they plug it in, but I still don't think it's going to be wide receiver. I think we may see this year, particularly with new head coach going to teams, they'll fall back to what they're used to doing. Mike McCarthy offense, Minter defensively, and other head coaches that have gone into different positions around the league. I think, like the guy, I would lean Craig here. I think they will go defense, but maybe they'll find another nice wide receiver in a later round. But there's a lot of gaps there. I don't think they're the same team, which is, I think there's a lot of work there to be done.
The Bleacher Report app is your destination for sports. Right now, the NBA is heating up, March Madness is here, and MLB is almost back. Every day there's a new headline, a new highlight, a new moment you've got to see for yourself. That's why I stay locked in with the Bleacher Report app. For me, it's about staying connected to my sports. I can follow the teams I care about, get real-time scores, breaking news, and highlights all in one place. Download the Bleacher Report app today so you never miss a moment.
Stop. If you know what the rose is, this is for you. And if you don't, listen closer. Meet Lem by Hello Nancy. Yes, it looks like a lemon, but it's anything but innocent. Every 25 seconds, someone discovers Lem. With 500,000 customers and a 4.7 star rating, women say it's toe-curling and mind-blowing. It's whisper quiet and completely discreet, so no one hears a thing and no one knows what it is. Go to HelloNancy.com for 50% off this Valentine's Day. Once you try it, you'll understand.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.